Good morning, church. It's Saturday morning, and this week we're looking at things Christians do differently. They work differently, and I suppose you can ask yourself, do they? Do you? This week I bumped into a friend of mine. He shall remain anonymous, but he will know who he is when I start telling you this story. I said I was doing this. He says, "Oh, I've done a course in theology on the theology of Christians and work." I thought, oh no. I said, don't tell me about that. I had in my mind already, I'd been thinking about this for a few weeks now. He said, yeah, it's really good. I said, don't tell me that you'll throw me off track where I'm going with this. Lo and behold, he couldn't hold himself. And he told me a few things. I thought, oh no. What he was telling me about the theology, I didn't have in my notes what I was going to prepare on. But nevertheless, I suppose what I'm going to reflect on is perhaps my what I've learned during my career, my working life, and make of it what you will. Some things you may agree with, maybe some things you might not. So here we go. I've got kind of 4 points. 1 and 2 are fairly similar. So how do Christians work differently? I mean, for me, first of all, I think it's acknowledging life's a gift. Life's a God-given gift, and it's precious and it's fragile. I think most humans would realise life's a gift, but as Christians, I think it's extra special in we know we're created. We're not here by accident. We're not here by chance. We're created, and life's a gift. The opportunity for you and I to work will not last forever. One day you'll either be too old, too sick, or you die. And the opportunity to work, as much as it brings us pressures and strains, one day it will go. That window in your life will pass. And I think having that in my mind, that life's a gift, the opportunity to work, to be healthy, and to go to work's a gift. And I think if you approach work with that vein and are thankful for it, even if you're stacking shelves or you're digging holes or you're the CEO of a big firm, I think there'll be a difference in you when you realise that. I always used to tell the team I used to work with, never moan about being in work on a Monday morning, because if you're in work on a Monday morning, sometimes things aren't all that bad. As much as life can be difficult, the Bible often talks about being thankful, rejoicing. The Psalms picks up on this. One of the ones I like, Psalm 118:24. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. So Monday morning, rejoice, be glad in it. Be glad you've got the opportunity to work. And I think for me, that approach changes how I go about things. Second point, which is really, I suppose, a 1A, is give thanks in all circumstances. We talked about, I think Danny may have picked up on this in Suffering a few weeks ago, 1 Thessalonians 5:16-18, rejoice always, pray continuously, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. God's will empower us to get through things. And you might be having a great time at work. You might be struggling. It's a grind sometimes. But give thanks. Rejoice, pray. And I think that will help us work differently. People will notice something different. What is it about this guy? The third point is based on Colossians chapter 3, 23-24. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human master, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is Christ you are serving. Whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as if working for the Lord. There's a challenge. Now, no doubt sometimes we fail at this. Maybe sometimes we win at it. But if you work at something as if you're working for the Lord, I think you'll be working differently to many of those around you. You won't be bad-mouthing your boss. You won't be gossiping. You won't be cutting corners. Are you treating your clients right? Are you overcharging them? Are you looking after them? Are you looking after those around you? If you're in a position of responsibility and you've got staff that you're responsible for, how are you treating them? Are you working as if you're working for the Lord? How you do that in your place of work, well, maybe that's something you can chat about and discuss. But work as if you're working for the Lord. It's a challenge. We fail, but every day's a new day. Every day's a gift. We can say sorry for the things we've done wrong and we can start tomorrow. That's a great thing about the gospel, about Jesus Christ. So if today you've had a bad day at work, you can pray and you can start again tomorrow, and you can work tomorrow as if you're serving the Lord. And finally, point 4 was really about taking risks in work. Maybe how we can look at taking risks, not irresponsible risks, not stupid risks. But often work can be, if we're not careful, it can sometimes be a bit too much of a comfort blanket, our safety blanket. Oh, that's our salary. We're secure. We know we're going to earn this. We're going to do that. And there's a time for that. And that's good and proper, to be diligent, committed, faithful. But also the Lord might be encouraging you to take some risks, to step out in faith, do something differently. So how Christians work differently, they might place their value in it differently. We should be able to take risks, move ships, maybe go on missions. And we do something differently. And we take some risks because we're not trusting on ourselves. Our confidence is not on our job and our salary. It's in our confidence and security is in the Lord. And that allows us to take risks. There's people in this church that have given up careers, given up jobs to go into ministry. Our dear pastor gave up his life in the police force and the career he had to come and pastor our church. It's a huge risk. Things have gone well. Things have sometimes not gone so well. Another good friend of mine shared a Bible verse this year with me about work. Joshua 1 verse 9. Have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous? Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. I think in work we can be strong and courageous. We can go for that promotion. We can maybe set up a new business. We can pray about these things and trust in the Lord. The other side of that coin is maybe we need to step back from work. Proverbs says, I think it's Proverbs says, do not wear yourself out to become rich, show some wisdom, or words to those effects. Maybe you're working yourself into the ground to get rich and you're thinking, I've got a mortgage to pay, I've got bills to pay, but your marriage is suffering, you're suffering, your family's suffering because you're working too much. So I think that the point about risk and being courageous can work both ways. In our Christian life, our security is not in our salary and our job. Our security is in Christ. And at times that will be reflected in how we approach work and our career. We might want to push on to a new business and go up the career ladder. And there might be a time to step back. Maybe the Lord's calling you to do something different to provide for your family. Maybe he's calling you to step back. And you're like, well, what happens if it goes wrong, Lord? What happens if I don't get enough money? And sometimes the Lord calls us to take risks. And that's, I think, one way Christians can work differently. They'll take risks in a different way, not irresponsible stuff, but stuff where they're trusting in the Lord. I read a story a couple of weeks ago about Canon Andrew White, known as the Vicar of Baghdad, and he's quoted as saying, he was a vicar in Baghdad, obviously, and all the risks that entailed. And he says, I tell people not to take care, but to take risks. And maybe in our work, that's another angle to look at. So 4 points, what I sometimes think about that maybe is how I try and work differently as a Christian. Thankfulness, gift of life, being thankful in all circumstances, whether you're stacking shelves or earning lots of money running a business. You're working as you're working for the Lord. And number 4, you might take some risks. Let me know what you think. Have a good evening. God bless.